Hello, it's Steve from the Thinking Person's Guide to Life channel. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a real irrational thought that I just heard just this past week. On my channel, I talk a lot about how thoughts cause our emotions. Our thinking causes our emotions. But one of the problems that we oftentimes have is that we confuse our thoughts with our emotions. We say, I feel something, and what we're saying that we feel is really a thought. Our emotions, basically, we've got 6 of them. They are depression, anxiety, anger, guilt, happiness, and calm. Now you can say, well, yeah, I feel sad. Well, sad's really kind of, another word for depressed. Or I feel ambivalent. Well, that's kind of like a form of anxiety, perhaps. So we're not getting into splitting hairs. But as a rule of thumb, people can usually identify what their emotions are with singular words like depression, anxiety, anger, guilt, happy, calm. And thoughts usually require multiple words, okay? So when we say I feel like or I feel that, after the word like or that, there's usually going to be multiple words that are going to follow up with that. I'm going to give you an example though. Let's get to the example. So I was playing this card game the other day with a person, and the name of the game is euchre. And euchre is a game that's very popular up here in Rochester, New York, where I am. It's probably a northeast kind of a game. There's other parts of the country where they've never heard of euchre. But euchre involves using a trump suit. So there is one suit of the 4 suits in a deck of cards. One suit that for each hand that gets played, one suit is superior and has more power than all of the other suits. So we're playing the game and we're teaching somebody how to play it the other day. And one of the people playing says, and I quote, I feel like they shouldn't call it Trump anymore. Now, clearly this person had some problems with the 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump, and so thought that by using the word Trump in the card game, that they shouldn't use that word anymore because I don't know, perhaps this person wants to cancel Donald Trump. But that's what was said. I feel like they shouldn't use Trump anymore. Now think about that. First of all, I feel like they should not use Trump anymore. That's 7 words. Okay? This is clearly an example where that person is confusing a thought with a feeling. They are actually labeling their thought as a feeling. And why do people do that? Well, in my opinion, why people frequently will do that, and you'll hear it a lot. Just listen to people talk. You will hear it all over the place. You'll hear it on TV. They do that because our feelings, we kind of have this code that we live by that says we don't question each other's emotions. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. As a therapist, close to 40 years, I don't question people's emotions. Okay? People have emotions. They're entitled to feel what they feel. But your thoughts are a different story, because we know in cognitive therapy that your thoughts cause your emotions. So my point is that I think that people oftentimes will mislabel their um, their thoughts as feelings because it's a way to say you can't question what I'm saying here. I feel that they shouldn't use Trump anymore. When playing cards, they shouldn't use that term anymore. That's a way of saying, well, you can't question my thought because I'm going to mislabel my thought. I'm going to call it actually a feeling. Okay? But it's not a feeling. It actually is a thought. So this person, they said, I feel like they shouldn't use Trump anymore. And my response was, is that what you think? Okay? Because I knew that I was listening to this person's thought, even though they called it a feeling. I know that's what they were thinking. And so I said, is that what you think? Kind of to point out that, that's not really your feeling at all. That's actually your thought. And of course, that was met with total silence. I didn't get an answer on that. But that's why people will use the expression, I feel like, or I feel that, because it's a way that then I can then express a thought after that. And because it's my emotion, you can't question it, which is unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, but it's downright misleading. And when we hear people say, I feel like, or I feel that, and then there's going to be multiple words to follow, we should say, is that what you think? We should point out to people, that's your thought. And you're entitled to have your thoughts, but guess what? Thoughts are sometimes distorted. Sometimes thoughts are irrational, okay? And when we have irrational thoughts, we're going to tend to feel anger, depression, anxiety, guilt. We might even feel happy due to irrational thoughts. But when we have rational thoughts, thoughts that are not cognitively distorted, thoughts that are in keeping with reality, when we have, and that's basic, those are the definitions of a rational thought. When we have rational thoughts, we're much more likely to feel calm and to kind of keep our composure. So that's what happened. Now, as a side note, I guess I got to say this. If the 45th president of the United States occupies that much space in your head, that when you're playing a card game and you hear the word Trump, which just happens to be the same word as his last name, if you are that much bothered by it, I have to say this notion of Trump derangement syndrome, I think it really does exist. When people can't even play a game of cards without one of them saying, I feel like they shouldn't call it Trump anymore, that to me is a sign that you're kind of getting irrational and your thoughts are a little bit skewed, and you might want to take a look at that. And unfortunately, in this particular case, when the person said, I feel like they shouldn't use Trump anymore, and I said, is that what you think? They didn't want to go any further with that. They didn't want to answer that. But hopefully, maybe they'll file that away, and maybe they will think about that a little bit. That really is a thought that they were expressing. It wasn't a feeling. But no doubt, thinking like that, because usually should thoughts, and that's what that is. They should not use Trump anymore. That's a should thought, an irrational thought. And we know that should thoughts tend to produce feelings of anger. And no doubt about it, there are a lot of feelings of anger towards Donald Trump for whatever reason. There are also a lot of feelings of anger towards Joe Biden. Politics does that. We have emotions, but our emotions, when we think of, when we're discussing politics, they're like everything else in life. They come from the things we think. And sometimes the things we think are not completely rational. So I just wanted to tell you that story today. Kind of a silly story, but it really did happen to me just the other day. And I just really wanted to talk about that and use that as an example. As an example to remind you that our thoughts do cause our emotions. You have a good day.